What's up, everybody? Good evening. Seahawks Brendan Nelson here, and the football fest over at Lumen Field has wrapped up a little bit ago. It wrapped up, really, I think a couple hours ago. I know the players were hanging around signing autographs for fans and throwing footballs to the people in the crowd and stuff like that. So that's obviously always cool. But like I said, I'm going to do a quick little recap of some of the major highlights coming out of the Football Fest training camp session. And then tomorrow, assuming that I can actually find enough stuff, I'm going to do a more in-depth look at the nitty-gritty of what went down. Quite honestly, the coverage of this training camp session and the way in which it was portrayed to us as fans who weren't there was a little different than it usually is. Usually, it's almost like a full game where we actually get like timestamps, we actually get like drives, we get stats and stuff like that. To as of this recording, I haven't really seen too much stuff like that. It feels more like it was portrayed as just a training camp session and not an actual game, which, I mean, the structure of a game is a little easier to digest for us as fans and discuss, so I'm a little disappointed if that's true, but we'll see what comes out between now and tomorrow morning, and I'll say what can be said. But I do want to run down some of the major highlights of the coverage of this 10th practice as I've been able to see it. So, got some tweets to go through here. Let's go ahead and take a look. First, the Geno Smith stuff. I do want to cover this real quick because I already said I didn't think he was going to participate. He did not. Greg Bell has this tweet here talking about how he missed the practice, and that's obviously going to put a damper on proceedings when you don't have your starting quarterback. It's harder to judge pretty much everything else, but Sam Howell and PJ Walker ruled the day, and we got this from Rappaport as well. He is expected back at practice early next week. So if you're wondering when this is going to go away completely, it looks like it's going to go away completely early next week. So that's about as good as we could have hoped for. By the way, if I look a little different than usual, it's because I've got some neck pain right now. So I'm trying to sit in slightly different postures, just in case anybody out there is noticing and they're wondering what's wrong with me. Now, there is something wrong with me, but we're working through it. But yeah, Geno Smith should be good to go next week. So I wanted to go ahead and get that out of the way because that's looming over everything. And we already got good news the other day, but I wanted to go ahead and put the kibosh on this. Should be back next week. Now, if he's not, that would be concerning. It's kind of like the Draymond Jones thing, who, by the way, is still out. Draymond Jones has now missed so many practices in a row. We're starting to wonder, is this more significant than they let on? And is this something that's going to linger on into the actual regular season? But hopefully we don't get there. So that's what I can say about that. Let's go over some of the major things that were captured from Lumen earlier today. There were a couple of interceptions, both by players who have an uphill battle to get playing time this year. One guy in particular who has an uphill battle to even make the team. We had a DJ James interception, so that's his second of camp. So he's actually doing really well, I think. Jumped an out route by D. Eskridge. By the way, Eskridge continues to really not do all that much. If you're looking for players to separate themselves in the battle for the end of the roster receiver spots, Eskridge doesn't seem to be the guy who's doing it. Marquise Blair had an interception as well. He got underneath an out breaking route by Noah Fant. Both interceptions today were thrown by PJ Walker. So these were one-on-ones, by the way. This was not during any kind of an actual even simulated game. So understand that this was a very much a controlled environment, very much a narrow situation where everyone knows where the ball is ultimately going. So the interceptions don't mean nearly as much from the quarterback, where the quarterback is going to actually be making decisions during an actual game, choosing between 5 different targets. So Marquise Blair comes up with the pick. He's a guy who, I mean, I think he has a chance of making this team because of the Jarek Reed situation, but him making plays like this is obviously going to help. If you're looking for highlights on offense, like these are the defensive highlights, and overall it seems like the defense did better than the offense, which is totally expected because realistically, you don't have your starting quarterback. How is your starting offense going to perform at maximum ability? We had this from Greg Bell. An offensive highlight came in the form of DK Metcalf. Metcalf had a double move, caused Witherspoon to lose his balance, fall over. Metcalf made the catch, ran to the end zone. Witherspoon could not catch up to him. So that was considered to be one of the big, exciting plays of the day. So, again, if you buy into the theory that competition at the highest level will bear out better results when the regular season starts, you're seeing our best receiver go up against our best cornerback, and they're battling out there. And DK Metcalf continues to have a really impressive training camp. He continues to look like he's going to be the best version of himself in 2024, which, hey, that'd be great, right? Because, again, I think that there is some room for Metcalf to have a crossroads in his career this year. So the fact that he's doing so good in training camp so far is great. The other major offensive highlight was Jake Bobo bringing in a touchdown, toe tap touchdown catch along the side of the end zone. According to Boyle here, kind of the same idea as his touchdown against Arizona last season, if you guys remember that one. So, yeah, Bobo's continuing to kill it. And those were the main offensive highlights, honestly. Like I said, it was mostly a defensive day, which is totally understandable, but at the same time, it's not, it's still notable, right? Because those guys have been in battle for a while, and Geno's missed a few days in a row now, so Howell's had the opportunity to work with the first team and should be developing some degree of a rapport with it. Condotta took some time to praise, in particular, Michael Dixon. He looked really, really good out there. I know nobody's really worried about Michael Dixon because he's been good for so long now, and he's clearly one of the best punters in football, and maybe headed towards being one of the best punters of all time. But if you were wondering about Michael Dixon at all, he looks like he's in form. He looks like he's ready to go, ready to play. One thing that a few people brought attention to from the Football Fest in general was it was very chippy. A lot of pushing and shoving after plays. There was one particular play that he drew attention to where Blair slammed Eskridge to the ground after a catch and run, and then the offense didn't appreciate that. Kobe Bryant came in to defend Blair. Defensive players run off the sideline. Witherspoon ran out there. So it got a little bit intense. It got a little bit fiery out there at one point. And overall, it seemed to be pretty chippy, which it's going to happen, right? You know it's going to happen out there in these training camp sessions, especially when you have some very competitive guys like Metcalf, guys like Witherspoon. They struggle to control themselves, and sometimes that bleeds over in this way. I don't necessarily believe it to be a bad thing. Final little note from this football fest. Jerome Baker had a hamstring issue. Timeline to return is unclear. Did not practice today, which that's actually a big disappointment because number one, Baker's already got an injury history as it is. Number two, we need to see what we have at the inside linebacker spot. A guy like Jerome Baker is very crucial to this season being workable in that area. All right, so those are the major things that I wanted to draw attention to in the immediate aftermath. Assuming that we have more to discuss tomorrow morning, I will discuss it. But I wanted to pass along some of the, some of the major things that were echoed out of the Lumen Field practice today. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. That's what I want to draw attention to. So, yeah, things are looking pretty good overall. The news is mostly good, and I'm feeling good. See you guys later.